What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you some more Splinterless content today. And today we have an absolute treat. This is somebody who has been very influential for me in my Splinterlands journey, and we actually haven't had a chance to talk yet. So this is a true pleasure for me to welcome on the show Darkestnyte. Darkestnyte, how are you?
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me.
As soon as you reached out, I was like, oh, this has to happen, and it has to happen ASAP because we want to talk about Waka Spiritblade. But we're gonna hold off on that, and I want to give you a chance to just start off and explain a little bit about who you are and your experience and your journey with Splinterlands. Now, again, feel free to share as much or as little as you'd like, but I, for one, am just very curious to see how you got so many awesome cards, which, if you don't mind me saying, you've delegated some to me in the past, and I want to publicly thank you here for that. So you've got me a couple of extra chests at the end of seasons. Those have come in very handy, so I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. So again, my pleasure. And actually, that's I think that's important, right? To delegate and be a part of the community. How I started my journey, really, wow, that I would have to say it started almost 40 years ago, right? I've been a gamer, played D&D, early gaming. I love RPGs,
Mhm.
World of Warcraft, EverQuest, like tons of games out there that I spent years and years just really focused on. I am an IT professional, so being in front of a computer all day long, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But really specifically how I found Splinterlands was actually pretty interesting. I played Magic the Gathering with a buddy of mine. We would play every day, almost all day. And he really got tired of me beating him all the time. And one day he just rage quit and he just said, you know what, I'm not playing with you ever again. And so I'd spent so many years doing this. And then literally within about maybe 5-10 minutes after he did that, I used the Brave browser, right? And so Brave actually had an advertisement for Splinterlands. And I was like, card
No
game,
way.
best way. And I said,
If we can just take a moment here to everybody who's trashing the ads right now, you are a successful catch on that.
oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. So
And the story gets crazier after that.
please continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all good. So, so I signed up immediately, and I said, "Oh, blockchain card game." I was like, "This is great," because just the year before, I'd started getting into Ethereum and Bitcoin, and like my first token or coin was XRP, right? I was like, "Oh, I wanted to just get more into the blockchain." And there are a lot of reasons.
And then before, just because you said a year before, so I'm just curious, when was this that you got hooked into Splinterlands or saw the ad, just to give people a time frame?
Yeah, so that was in 2020. So I did
Okay.
in the beginning of like the whole COVID thing. I I just wanted to kind of just do more from a financial perspective, to just make some gains, right? We were sitting on our butts, and we weren't able to spend any money or do anything. And I just said, wow, I'm still making a pretty decent income, but I need to invest it. But the markets were crazy, super high volatility. But again, crypto was great. I have a pretty clear vision of what the future looks like from a crypto perspective, right? I think it is the great equalizer across all cultures or across all economics. I think it is a thing that's going to level the playing field for so many people all over the world. So anyway, I signed up for Splinterlands, loved it. And then I saw all the splinters, right? So I saw, the death splinter. I thought that was cool. Life, fire, water. And then I saw dragons. And I'm a huge fan of dragons. Like, if all my house, there are dragons everywhere. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So at that time in 2020, cards are super cheap, right? Like, compared to now, they were like pennies on the dollar. And so I said, oh, well, I can go ahead and buy all these cards. And so I bought all the dragons, everyone I could find. But Archmage Arius was like $950.
Wow,
And
even at that time, huh?
at the time, there were only 87 of them in existence.
Wow.
Right. And so one of the basics of value in crypto is scarcity, right? Like anything that scares is going to be highly sought after. But again, I didn't buy it for an investment. I like dragons, and I was playing a great game, and I
Yeah.
said, I have to have the leader of the dragons, and I bought it for $950. A couple of months later, one of my guildmates said to me, "Hey, man, have you checked the value of your deck?" And my response was, "How do I do that? I don't know." Um,
Was Peak Monsters around at that point, or
it
had they?
was, it
Oh,
was,
it
it is.
was.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And they said, "Go here." And when I looked at the value of my deck, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Right after,
Hmm.
for an investment of, I think it was, wow, about maybe $1,000, $2,000, nothing major, nothing crazy.
Hmm.
Um, to see what it had grown to, was easily 100x.
Wow,
Yes.
crazy, man.
And in fact, my lady friend, she asked me, she says, "What are you going to do when the value of your deck exceeds the value of your house?" And I said, I have no idea. Like, I have no idea. So, so that was really it. But it's still, even now, it is not really truly an investment, right? I love playing. I love participating in the community, seeing some of your videos. I mean, there are different types of content creators, right? And
Hmm.
find that we can all find someone that really relates to us in a way that we communicate, right? And the way that we want to receive information. And so that's one of the really great things, from all the different content creators. They're all different. Like, there's
Hmm.
not one that's like any other.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. But in general, I think that, Splinterlands in and of itself is an excellent example of the use case for blockchain. I mean, I played Magic for over 20 years. And one of the things when it came online was, with Arena and things like that, is I'll never own these cards. Right? I can't trade them. I can't give them away to anybody.
Hmm.
I can't loan them out. But, Splinterlands solved all of that and really did it in a way that was really, fun to play. So
Awesome. Now, well,
that's the story.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot for me to unpack there, but just going off of what you said at the end of there, I was a Magic the Gathering player too. We were talking about this initially. The thing is, I never played on the like the online version. So comparing that to where we are now, I can very much understand the apples to orange comparison,
Oh, yeah.
and like the light bulb click moment where you're just like, oh wait, I own all these assets. I was still in the analog version, right? So I still have my deck. And to me, that, and I had like Pokemon cards back in the day too. Like,
Same.
they're all sitting in my parents' basement somewhere,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it's just like they're not earning anything. There's no airdrop points given to them. There's no loaning out that I could do. So I've actually, like, the next time I head back to Chicago, I want to like try and dig them up and see if they have any value still, right? And I don't even know. That's the thing. Here, I could play with a card a billion times, and it's still going to be in mint condition, right? Digital.
So, question for you:
Yeah.
what were your favorite colors playing in, Magic?
Oh man. In Magic, I loved playing, and this is gonna make me sound because it's been a while. It's been a while. I loved playing fire,
Okay. Yep.
or red. Was that whatever it was called? Yeah. I love playing fire and water.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
there was a fun. Okay, so I came out. I don't know if you're gonna remember this, but I one of the first decks I ever bought was in like the Nemesis expansion.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I first got into
Oh,
it.
old school.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. I'm telling you, it's been a minute since I played. But when the Nemesis expansion came out, I love playing Death 2. I just can't remember a lot of the cards from around that time. So part of this is like making me go back now and like try to see. Well, actually, now I don't even have the brain space for it anymore,
Yeah.
because for me, it's all about Splinterlands at this point, right? To me,
Same
Splinterlands
here.
represents the digital digital version of this versus the analog, and we all know what you can see across every medium and every creative. Like, the digital media is, the digital side of things is moving forward. The analog is getting left behind, right? Saw that with
Absolutely.
music first. You see it with DVDs and movies and film. So now, like, to your point earlier, and yeah, I try to balance this fine line because this is supposed to be a gaming channel. So
Right.
I try not to talk about too much crypto, but I have the same kind of vision as you, where I see this and I see crypto, not just gaming, but crypto specifically, as really, like you said, the true equalizer, right? It's the equality of opportunity where like anybody can get in now. And it's going to be about like what can you deliver to the community? What can you deliver to the different projects? And if you can deliver something great, people don't care what you look like. They don't care about your background. They don't care about anything. how many of these projects, I mean, Splinterlands is unique in the sense that they are, that, you know, all of the founders are doxxed in a sense, and they're all out there. But one of the other games that I'm looking at closely now, and I've done some content on, is DeFi Kingdoms, and nobody knows. Like those guys are all anonymous, and this game has like $600 million of like total locked value. So again, not getting too far into the crypto side, but I do very much appreciate where you're coming from, and want to say that I think we kind of align on the ideals of where this could potentially take it. And then when it comes to crypto gaming, yeah, I mean, Splinterlands, it's crazy. It's so crazy that you came in through an ad, because I think now this is exactly why I think the team is marketing now and trying to get more and more people. And we're just in a really tough period of, you know, where crypto is overall.
Right. And that's interesting because it could have been any other ad, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could have been literally any other ad, and I probably would have clicked it the same way, right? But 2 years later, it is something that I do every day, and it is a major part of my life. And again, that's why I think the Waka promotion is so important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to bring people in that would not normally be exposed. And again, I get that there are some people that might be concerned about that, right? Like, this is our thing, and we want to keep it basically for us, whoever us is, right? Doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
who that is, right? But at the end of the day, there's going to be an influx of additional players, which will be beneficial to all of us, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
values of our decks will rise because there'll be increased demand for all the cards we have, right?
Exactly.
Anyone that plays Splinterlands, even for, let's say, a month, if you play for a month, you're pretty much hooked, right? And then you start looking to grow your deck.
Yep.
You'll start looking at gaining that power, because you'll play at, you know, bronze level, and eventually you'll look at the opportunity to go into silver, right? And you'll ask the question, how do I get to silver? How do I get to gold?
Yeah.
How do I get to diamond? And before you know it, you're in champion, and it gets crazy there. It's absolutely,
I can imagine.
yeah, but it's great.
Well,
Yep.
so, well, I was going to say, you brought up Waka, and I think that's one of the main things we wanted to even connect about in the first place. So, as somebody who's been playing, and I know for you it seems just like a snap of a finger, but compared to someone like me who's only been playing 6 months, you seem as though you are a true OG to the game, in this, at least from your collection perspective. So I am very curious to obviously have this conversation with you specifically about Waka. Your thoughts on Waka, I guess, as a card, but then also, I mean, you started getting into it in terms of what it means for the space overall and for the game.
Sure. So, so for me, let's start with what the card actually is, right?
Sure.
So if you look at the Death Splinter, one of the challenges I've always had with it is it's a debuff, right? And you really have to anticipate as best you can what your opponent is going to play,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, for example, we can debuff range, right? -1 for that summoner, or we can do magic reflect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we can do you can remove heal through affliction and a -1. So, but again, you have to try to anticipate what your opponent's going to do. And again, if your opponent doesn't use magic, then you don't get any benefit, right?
Yeah.
Or if they don't use range, you don't get any benefit. Well, guess what? With Waka, everything changes, because I can have my really good cards, right? I can still use my Lord of Darkness and my my Pegasus to heal. I can have all my great cards, and now I throw in poison. And again, that's a shift. That's a fundamental shift for the Death Splinter that I don't think we've ever seen before. So what is that really going to do to the meta? And that's really what I'm trying to anticipate. So if you look at some of the cards that we recently just got, right? And again, if I don't remember the names, I don't have them up.
No worries. I'll try to help you if I can.
Yeah, we have the ability right now, a range card with
opportunity.
Yeah, with opportunity, with speed, right? And the ability to spread that poison across someone else's group. How do you defend against that? Right? I would be hard pressed to try to now anticipate how to defend against that. So how would you defend against it, right? So you can put what's the ability where you can cleanse, right? So you could put cleanse in, right? You can have a character to cleanse, but you can only heal or cleanse the first slot, right? But if I'm using opportunity and I'm using stealth and I'm sure there. Oh, and if I'm using the one that randomly puts, attacks a random character,
Oh,
which one?
scatter shot, right?
Oh man, if I'm using
Mhm.
scatter shot, then your whole team is going to be just poison. And guess what? There's nothing you can do about it. Once you get hit with that poison, that's it, right?
Mhm.
Might be able to cleanse the first guy, right? But the rest of your team is going to get just smashed. And
Yep.
so you could start to put more characters in that have immunity, for example. That might be a big thing right now, right?
Mhm.
So at least the guy in your first position will get will be able to resist it. But how many backline characters have immunity?
Very true.
Not a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's just something that we're gonna have to deal with, right? And
Mhm.
I know we talk about scarcity of the Waka card, 1,000, but these are max level cards, right? So all of the best players are going to get it,
Mhm.
right? So it's gonna be brutal out there. Like that's my it is
Yeah.
absolutely gonna be brutal out there.
Yeah.
And if you don't find a way to deal with it, then you're gonna have a rough time, right?
It's gonna be one of those automatic battle skips every single time you see it. Now, I needed to get you on here to talk about it because you literally just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Um, so my big struggle with death has always been the debuff thing as well, right? It's a blessing and a curse
Definitely.
because it's or a double-edged sword, however you want to look at it. Because when you guess right,
Yeah.
your
Oh, you
opponent's team,
slam. You're done.
yeah, your opponent's team can do nothing to you, right? But when you guess wrong, you got to rely on the strength of your monsters. And one of the things that I've noticed, at least for Chaos Legion, and maybe you can kind of speak to previous editions, like
Yeah.
Chaos Legion, I would say that Death has some of the strongest monsters or some of the most like interesting and unique monsters, but their synergy, it's hard to have like synergy with the summoner because the summoner is always going to be debuffed.
That is correct. Yeah.
Whereas now, Waka, like you said, I'm trying to think through all the other Death summoners out there. Waka is the first one where okay, I don't need to figure out what my opponent is playing. I can put all of my best, fastest, strongest
Absolutely.
attackers, and
Yeah.
they're all going to have a 50% chance of knocking poison in the back line wherever they don't have cleanse. Oh, you're going to make me want to get this card now.
Yeah. So, but it gets even crazier, right? So, so think about it, right? And I've heard some of the other people, kind of talk about this.
Mhm.
Think about if you wanted to build a poison team, right? You could do it, right? But
Mhm.
they're not the best cards, right? So,
Exactly.
and you can only hit the first position and the last position. There are none that are with opportunity that you're going to be able to poison with, right?
Mhm.
In the Death Splinter. So now, like literally spreading that poison everywhere, like even if you have one character die from poison, that's still a big deal. And think about it. I remember when Dr. Blight, when before Dr. Blight came out, people were kind of down on it at first, right? They're like, "Oh, this card's not going to be good." It is one of the most dominant cards now in the meta. Like
I
I don't
could
ever
not disagree
play
with you.
without.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never play without Blight if I can, and
Mhm.
because it's so oppressive. I mean, it's just you stop heal, you're poisoning, you can't
Mhm.
even hit it because
Yeah.
you
And then
can't get rid of it.
to me, I mean, Blight was awesome in silver, which is where I started playing with him. But as
Yeah.
soon as you get to gold and he gets scavenged, and all of a sudden,
Oh
at
my
the
god.
end of the game, you're facing this like anywhere health from like 10 to 18 health monster. Oh
Right.
my gosh, it's I single-handedly won me so many games.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I totally agree with you on the Dr. Blight OPness.
Yeah. And I mean, and there are other cards that I don't really even play a lot with. The Dark Juan,
Mhm.
however you pronounce it. Using cards that grow when other cards die,
Yeah.
that's going to be brutal, right? Again,
Mhm.
as your almost like a zombie deck, right? As your opponent dies, you're getting, more and more powerful. And again,
Mhm.
once that ball gets rolling, I mean, it's really hard to deal with. So,
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It makes me want to get. I've been looking at that card specifically, the one that you mentioned, Dark One, because
it's great.
something like that with a like Lyra, the one that gives you speed and opportunity, like now, like the possibilities are endless because well, and especially if you were to combine that with what's his name, Waka, now all of a sudden you're keeping the entire opposing team busy while you're poisoning them to death, right?
Oh, even better. So there's another card that I need to max out is so Lyra combined with Supply Runner.
Yes, he's another great one. Oh, love that card. Yeah.
So you have two characters that are giving speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is just pepper everybody with poison very, very quickly. And you want to go first, right? If you don't get the kill right off the bat, then everyone's poisoned first, and and then it can barely hit you after that, right? So even if you look at Lord of Darkness, I think his speed is 3.
When he gets enraged too, it's going to be impossible to hit.
Yeah. So he's going to get enraged. He already gets +2 speed. So he's at 5, right? So that's a melee character. That's a frontline tank. 5 speed and
5 speed. Wait, but 5 speed. That's 5 speed before he gets enraged. So he'll be at 8 speed after that point.
Insanity.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
And he's getting healed if you get
Pegasus in the mix. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, the only thing that I think Death Splinter's missing, which I think we'll never get because it'd be too OP, would be a cleanse. Right. So I don't think there's any card with cleanse out there. So because that's the thing, right? The defense against that deck would start with like Dr. Blight, right? Because it's going to guarantee to hit because it's not going to get, it's always going to hit, even regardless of how fast he is. It'll get rid of the heal, right, from the Pegasus, and he'll start getting poisoned as well. So it starts dropping down. So it might be a meta where we have poison versus poison, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's who poison who first.
I'm thinking that Waka, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but I'm thinking that Waka is actually going to be much more difficult as an opponent in lower mana games because he's only 3 mana. Right. And the thing is, the higher the mana cap, there's more options for you to kind of, work around it. But if you're fighting against someone and Death has a lot of good, smaller, low mana monsters, you know what I'm saying? Like that to me is where the real problem lies. And again, I'm just kind of speculating on what the game meta will be, but I can't imagine this card not being very dominant. You know what I'm saying?
It's a card that you'll be able to grow with, right? Even if you get it at bronze, right? You can still use it. That's not like you can't use it. And it still has the same effect, right? You're gonna give poison, right? It's not like a creature card, right? Where it scales up. You're always gonna be able to give poison. You're always gonna be able to use it as long as you have access to death, right? 3 mana, so even on low mana games, you're always gonna be able to use it. And again, and I'll ask a question, right? What card would you use in lieu of it? Like, what would you pick?
Yeah. Well, this is where it gets interesting, right? And we were just talking about like the buff versus debuff. If you know your opponent is going to play something specific, then you can pick a splinter or pick a summoner to really counter that. But you now also have the option where it's just like, okay, well, based on that, I can also just overpower this person with this certain deck that I have that runs well with poison, right? So yeah.
But here's the other part of it, right? When we look to see what our opponent is playing and they see Waka, what do you think they're going to prep for? Right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're paying for Waka and you play something else, this is like, oh my God. And I've seen you do this in some of your games. You're like, oh my God.
I know. Isn't that?
It's the wrong thing, right? So,
it's the worst. I spent 2.5 minutes coming up with a counter strategy, and then I go in and they play something completely different.
Yes, exactly. So I think we're going to see that a lot, right? But I think across the entire meta. Now, I think, what did you call? You call this a whale card, right? And
I call it whale food.
Whale food. And I would go, no. Every time you said it, I would go, yeah, I'm going to eat it, right? But the reality is, I don't think it really is. Because if you look at the prices of any summoner, right, they're always going to be high, right? Like if you look at, man, I can't believe I see these cards every day, but if you look at the what's the card that blocks or reflects magic that's in Death Summoner? I forgot his name.
Ouster.
Ouster, thank you.
Yeah.
Ouster Rockwell. So that card at one point was $1,800, right? I bought it at $1,800, and I still
for a maxed out copy.
For a maxed out copy,
Wow.
and I thought it was one of the best deals that I'd had. right? Because I mean, it was difficult to get a maxed out copy. There aren't a whole lot of maxed out copies there, but I found it was a good value, right? Contessa, same thing. Even when it was available, was still expensive. And those cards, I don't know what Contessa is now, probably about $900, $800 or so. But we're talking about a brand new card that once it's gone, it's gone. It can only go up, right, as scarcity increases. So is it whale food? Maybe, right? But I think it's going to be a card that's going to really define the meta. And we don't know what's going to come after this, right? Of course, there's going to be another card that we're going to do the same thing, right? SPS is going to get more utility. The value of vouchers is going to be, I think, much more defined. And if you look at, we have the Imagine Dragons promo, right? Like, what's the likelihood that they're not going to get a card? Right?
We gotta have an Imagine Dragon card. Yeah,
of course we're going to get an Imagine Dragon card, right? And if not, it'll be something else, right? So the expectation is, I think the community should look at this as an opportunity, right? I think, before we got here, a little bit about the inclusion in gaming, right? So when I look at the Waka character, right, the same as I did when I played Dungeons and Dragons, right? The same as I did when I played a Planeswalker in Magic the Gathering, right? I feel that that's a representation of me. It's literally me, and how would I play this character? There are sometimes I pick a character or a card only because I can see myself in this scenario.
That's
fascinating. Right? So what are the creatures I play? And sometimes I don't even think about min-maxing or any of that stuff, right? I like a certain card. I like it a lot, and I want to play it just because I want to see it in action. And that's it. Right. So I think that there are other people out there like that. And again, it's interesting, right? Magic the Gathering, and again, I know we're talking about Splinterlands, but
that's fine.
They went through the same thing, right? They went through that same metamorphosis, if you will, and really diversified, what characters look like, what cards look like. It's an evolution, right? And I think Splinterlands is kind of going through the same thing, right? There'll be different types of characters, different stories, even, right? And really, we're a couple of months out from lands, right? Imagine putting a summoner and attaching it to a land, and it has different abilities based on the summoner or the creature that you associate with it, right? We haven't even talked about that. But I think there are opportunities here that's going to just blow our minds in the next year. That is just going to make the time that we spent now growing the user base, right? That's what we all want, is grow the user base, experience, and different people, different stories, and really just help grow the game, right? And I think this is one of the things it's going to do. I don't know if you know, Waka Flocka, I don't even think he does rap music anymore, right? His whole focus is on cryptocurrency and really growing, through a different mechanism. And if I remember correctly, I think he was kind of down on the rap industry, right? Because it turned him. So he's kind of a geek like us, right? So, well, at least me. I don't know if you're a geek.
I'd like to think I am to a certain extent, but yeah, sure.
Like, he's a geeky guy, loves computers, loves technology, and I mean, but the whole rap industry wouldn't allow us to see that, right? You have to leave the rap industry to be able to do something like this, right? And here we are talking about it. And for me, it's one of the biggest things, right? And I will probably listen to his music while I'm kicking somebody's butt with his car.
Oh, well, I can't deny the fact that I have played some of his songs. Like, because the thing is with Waka, I only knew like some of the main singles, which were bangers, right? Like I loved like listening to him. So now it's kind of renewed that I'm just like, oh man, like now I listen to his music sometimes. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be Waka Spiritblade. I'm gonna be up against it in the game. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up in terms of like inclusion and diversity, because there's always going to be this narrative like pro and anti when it comes to crypto. And we kind of touched on it in the beginning, where I really do believe this is, like you said, the great equalizer, right? So Waka is somebody who is kind of actually living that path, right? I hadn't followed him or his music since like 2010 or 2011. And then I go back through and like check his Twitter and Instagram, and like he's like walking the walk. Like he's very much into this space. And so say what you want, think what you want of him, but he is a valuable member of the community and now getting immortalized in a game that revolves around this kind of thesis of crypto. But I think it's awesome. In so many different ways. I really do think it's awesome. And to clarify on the whale food thing, it's not like this is not nothing against whales, nothing against whatever. When I was saying that it's whale food, I like it as a player who doesn't have a maxed out Chaos Legion deck, right? I like it because it's taking whales' attention and money away from Chaos Legion packs, which means I'll have a little bit more time to level up my deck. And this is what I'm trying to get through in all the videos. I'm just like, guys, like, stop crying about, you know, the SPS not going to $1 and card packs not being sold out, because guess what? When that happens, you're gonna be crying again. I'll be crying again because it's like, oh, I wish that I had bought more. Yeah, I wish that I had bought more. I wish that I had either leveled up my deck, or even if I have a maxed out deck, I wish I had bought some cards to invest in. Which brings me to another point. Again, sorry to keep going on this, but something you said right at the beginning is exactly the kind of player that we need. And I'm not trying to brown nose on you, but what you said when you were talking about Archmage, you said, I wasn't even buying this card as an investment. I bought it because I like dragons and I wanted to play with it. Absolutely. These are the types of players, you and anybody who has that mindset, and I would say me to a certain extent too, where it's just like, I want to buy cards and play with them because I love the game. I'm not thinking about it as an investment. And as more and more people come into the space and into the game like that, the player base grows organically, and like the floor of of daily active users continues to grow. Whereas when crypto is hot, and what we saw in like November, October, December, that whole time period, you got a lot of people who came in who didn't care about the game, but saw this as an investment opportunity. And then as soon as crypto goes bare, they're the ones saying, oh, this thing's a scam. It's going to zero. This thing sucks. And it's just like, well, you were never here for the game itself. You were here for the money. And now that the money's gone, you're not going to stick around for the game. Whereas 300,000 people now, yeah, I know there's some bots in there, but 300,000 people are playing this game now, as opposed to a year ago, or I don't even know how many people were playing when you first started. Must have been even less.
20,000.
Wow, 20,000.
And if you look at guys like Bulldog, they were here when it was 1,000.
It's crazy, man.
I'm sure you know Clove.
Yeah, Clove's great.
Like 100. So to see it, like I never expected it to be this way. And I would tell you, it would take a lot for me to sell any of my cards, any of them. So, and I have sold one, and it's a crazy story. When Wax came out, and I'm so ashamed to say this, I thought Wax was cool, like super cool, like, oh wow, I can get all kinds of NFTs. I bought, I got in a pack, I got a Yodin. And I mean, it was still dropping like crazy. I mean, I bought my Yodins for $25 each. Wow. And so I put a Yodin on Wax, and I said, I'm going to put it at some ridiculous price because I know no one will pay this for it. So I put Yodin on Wax for $45. And so when everything took off,
oh my gosh, it got eaten up.
I said, wait a minute. I remember I put a Yodin out on Wax. I wonder if it's still out there. It was back in April, and I didn't look until what was it, August? Yeah, and all was snapped up so fast. I totally missed, because I wasn't paying attention to prices of cards. Yeah, I totally missed this huge bull market of Splinterlands, and it still didn't matter, right? I felt bad. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I sold a Yodin for $45. But it taught me a lesson, right? That this game will go in peaks and valleys. It'll go up, it'll go down. But as long as you enjoy the game, and it's a fun game to play, which it is, it doesn't really matter the price of cards, right?
Yep. Well, see, and then the thing is, you know, I think we're both maybe, well, we both lived through a lot of different iterations of gaming, right? And how many hours? And this is somewhat of a rhetorical question, but how many hours have you put into games where you got nothing out of it? Because I know that I've put literally weeks, maybe years of my life into games where I got nothing out of it, and I could never walk away and have some value if I wanted to. So, you know, that's kind of the fundamental shift here for me, where it's just like, oh, I'm going to play and put as much as I want into this because I know at the end of the day, there will always be some value there. And I'm playing it because I enjoy it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, Steam will tell you how many hours you've played on those games. I wish it didn't.
No, you're absolutely right. I remember being depressed going through that list, but yes.
So
But
I
you know,
think
it's good times. It's good times.
it is good times, and I think now gaming has become more accepted in culture, right? If you look at market caps of different types of entertainment, right? Gaming eclipses movies by what, 10 times the amount?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it's no, there's no comparison, right? Written print media is almost, a barely seen line on the market caps, right? So when you have people that traditionally have not been gamers starting to move into the gaming space, this whole thing can just only explode, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to use a term here that I hate sometimes, but the metaverse, right?
Hmm.
We are moving towards a much more digital society, right? I mean, we're already there, right?
Yeah.
But imagine where this space will be in 5 years, in 10 years. Remember when the internet started in the 2000s, right? We thought it was going to be a fad. I thought it was going to be a fad.
Yep.
But it was very, I was very quick to realize this was not going to be a fad, and it was going to change every facet of our existence, right? And this is what's happening now in this iteration of this technology. So
Yeah. No, I agree with you too. I think metaverse is such a loaded term just because I think it means something different to every person,
yeah,
but that doesn't mean that it's not coming in some shape or form, right? Or that it should take something. Even like look at the conversation that you and I are having right now. Like 10, 15 years ago, like with the inception of YouTube, if somebody would have told you that, hey, this
yeah,
is going to be content that other
right,
people are going to watch and consume and hopefully enjoy and get some value out of,
right,
then like you would have been like, what? Like, what does that even mean? What's a podcast? What's like, so like the fact that we can do this now, that the ease of this, right? Because when we talk about metaverse now,
right.
you might be wearing the Waka Spirit
Wait,
Blade
Mike,
skin in
Mike.
in the interview. When we do this again, when we do the 10-year anniversary of this video, you're going to come through and be wearing the Waka avatar in game. We're going to be having the interview on maybe one of your land plots or one of my land plots, right? So it's going to look completely different, and it's going to happen, to your point about gaming, it's going to happen very organically because a lot of I didn't coin this term, but the idea of like gaming kind of eating the world, it's
Yeah,
just it's just eating up all these different sectors, and now crypto is kind of the next one. And it's hard for me to disagree with that thesis, right? It's very hard for me to disagree with that thesis, especially when you see something like Facebook going with changing their name to Meta. So I'm very much in that same kind of mindset as you.
I have so I have a request of you. So I would
Okay.
love for you. So I mean, we are in the United States, right? So
Hmm.
for us, this is entertainment, right? So we're playing games, we like it. I mean, this is probably one of the most wealthiest nations. It is one of the most wealthiest
Yep.
nations on the planet, right? But there are whole groups of people in, for example, Venezuela, the Philippines,
Hmm.
all over the world, that this to them is a way of life, right? So if you look at some of the towns in the Philippines, right, in
Hmm.
Manila, there are whole towns that are dedicated to gaming. I didn't
Yeah.
even know that.
It's
And
crazy, man.
crazy. And so now I'm thinking, as I get ready to go to retirement, I'm like, do I am I supposed to retire in the Philippines? Because that's where I want to go. Right? I want to go there and play games all the time,
Have you
right?
been?
I have not, but I'm gonna go. Absolutely.
I highly recommend it. So my mom is Filipino. So
Did
the
not do
this actually hit me very strongly once. So when Axie blew up last summer,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
when Axie blew up, and then I was listening to all these different interviews and kind of analysis, and people were saying people in the Philippines are making $25 a day. And like, I've been to the Philippines, I have family in the Philippines. I'm just like, wait, $25 a day?
A lot of
That's
money.
like that's a lot of money, because if all you need is a phone, or if all you need is a laptop with a basic internet connection, right? It's not like you need to stream crazy amounts of data with this game.
Yep,
So that to me was light bulb switch. And then I think you said Venezuela. I
yep.
think I heard like the government's trying to like set up scholarships now to try
Yeah,
and
yeah. Actually,
it's
scholarships.
it's
Absolutely.
it's crazy, man. So I don't know if you got to your request. So if
Yeah,
you want to
okay. Yeah. So
ask,
I would love to just dig into maybe a couple of videos on that, right? Just that in
sure,
general.
okay.
I would, so because I travel a lot, right? I'm
Hmm.
a and it's going to sound crazy, but an adventure marathoner. So I've been around the world
That's
twice.
so cool.
And
How
so
many
I
how many have you
do,
run?
so I've done adventure marathons 10. So I've
Wow.
done Great Wall of China. I've done Jordan. So I've been to Jordan. I've run Petra. I did South
Okay.
Africa right before the COVID started. I was supposed to go to Iceland, but I want to incorporate gaming into that. Like I want to go to the places. I want to sit in a bar, or not even a bar, like wherever people are doing
Like
the
a
game,
gaming cafe or
and
something, right? Yeah.
whatever, and just hang out with them. I play other blockchain games, and what I see is I have to learn new languages. Right, some of these
Mhm.
games literally have translators built into them, so that people
That's
from all
that's
over the
great. Yeah.
world can communicate with each other. Right. So I mean, it's just a fantastic time, I think, for blockchain in general, and
Yeah.
we're going to start seeing people from all over the world really come join us in this community. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. There's just it's just open to everybody, right? Like here's the thing, people look at Bitcoin and say, oh, there's going to be a bunch of whales and whatever, and it's just like,
maybe,
or even SPS, right? You're going to talk about SPS and say like, oh, there's a bunch of whales who hold like all the top accounts, whatever the case is. And I'm not anti-whale. That's just how the world works.
right,
The point or what's important to me is the fact that anybody, literally anybody, can go buy SPS or Bitcoin off of an exchange,
okay.
right?
Yes,
It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter your background. Yes, of course, it matters how much you're able to put in, but
sure.
you can go and you can buy it, and nobody can stop you. And that is amazing to me. That is amazing to me.
Right.
So
And think about this, right? So there are people, and again, the amount of capital you have, it's what allows you to bring a concept to market, right? But there
mhm,
are so many intelligent, smart people all over the world that the only thing they lack is capital, right?
mhm.
To be able to bring a fundamental change in the way we live our lives. What does DeFi do, right? A
Yeah.
person I could give someone a loan. It's one of the things that drew me to the Hive blockchain, right? Is I
Mhm.
can delegate a card to somebody. They can make some money, right, really quickly, even through the DC that we get or the SPS, right? They have an opportunity to benefit from something that doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but to them, it might be the difference between either starting a business. It might be the difference between eating
Yeah. Yeah.
that
No, it's a good point.
and the fact that I could do that without any risk to me and make new friends, right? Like I reward, again, I don't think reward's not the right word, right? But I valued your content specifically, and it's why I delegated, right?
Appreciate
Um,
it, then.
it could have been anybody else, right? It could have been, a kid in somewhere that says, "Hey, I'm struggling with beating these, getting out of brothels, right? Oh, let me help you out."
Yeah.
So as long as they love the game, I mean, I'm there to help. I love this community. This community is awesome.
It really is, man. And I try to do my best to pay it forward, or just to be I've seen and have been the recipient of so much generosity in the community, especially as a newcomer back in August and September. So part of it now is just like, I had such a good experience,
Yeah.
and overall the vibe in the community is very welcoming. I think if you go into the Discord, sometimes you won't feel that, but I
Yeah.
think for the most part, when you go around, like, if you are, and people are going to say that I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but it tastes good. It tastes
Okay.
good.
That's good. Absolutely.
It tastes good, and I've seen the benefits of it, not just for myself, but for, like you said, many people around the world, right? Like the whole scholarship thing blows my mind in such a good way, because it's just like, exactly like you said, I could take some assets. Like, I want to own assets, right? What is building wealth? It is owning assets. So now if I can own assets and then have somebody else work them, and it's beneficial, mutually beneficial. I'm not taking advantage of them. They're not taking advantage of me, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're willing to put in the time. I'm willing to put in the investment, and then we can walk away and everybody's happy.
Absolutely.
I mean, how much better can things get than that? So, I haven't been as good about like scholarships and extra
Yeah.
accounts and things like that. But the people that I've talked to,
Yeah.
it's incredible to see what it's done for them. And yeah, no, I love it. The community has been fantastic. So
I mean, think about
again,
what a delegation is, right? A delegation is an interest-free loan,
that's
right?
true. Yeah.
And it really would. So what you do with that delegation, like I could delegate cards and someone might not use them, right? If they don't, that's just a missed opportunity for them. But if they do, they get to end of season rewards. They get free assets. Well,
Yeah.
relative, you put time in, right? But
Yeah.
you get the assets, and those assets are yours. Like they don't come back to me. You can
Hmm.
keep them, and then you can build on that base and grow it and grow it and grow it. It starts out slow, right?
Hmm.
But it snowballs really, really quickly, right? You get that one card, right? That one legendary card from a season reward. It can change everything, right?
Yeah.
Any of it could change anything. If you're in bronze, guess what? You're in silver now, right? And you're much more competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's it's so addictive in such a good way, right? Like I've been addicted to games in the past, but never,
Yeah,
people here complain about like a lack of progression, and I understand because sometimes, it's one of those still like not necessarily pay to win, but the more money you put in, the higher up you're going to play, the more you're going to earn, right? So there's no denying that. But you show up every day and you're just doing your daily quests, and hopefully the new rewards update will change this too. Like, how is that not progression when I'm like literally earning every single time I win a game, right?
yeah,
It could be a little amount of DEC, but I'm earning something.
yeah,
And then on top of that, daily quests, season end rewards, I'm
yeah.
earning cards that right now the value of everything is down.
Yeah.
But even still, if I wanted to sell it, I could sell it. If I wanted to burn it for value, I could burn it for value and then take that money out and go buy myself a pizza with it. Right.
Absolutely.
So
And speaking of it, so I can't wait. So we'll bring it back around to Waka. I can't wait till I delegate him out to somebody in bronze or silver, and all of a sudden they're just wreaking havoc,
yeah. Oh my
and
gosh.
that'll be super cool, right? Like literally, the jaw drops will be like, "Wait a minute, you're not supposed to have that card, but I do."
I want to see somebody playing with it in bronze, and then
Oh,
their opponent's face is being like, "Why are you playing this here
you
against
will,
me?"
you will, you will. I guarantee.
So
So and again, it's a card you can grow with, right? So I mean, again, and some of the arguments I've heard specifically about the walk is, oh, you could take that money and you could max out a whole bunch of decks, right? But here's the reality is you're gonna max those decks out anyway, right? As long as you
mhm.
slow and steady wins the race, right? Like you said, do your daily quests. There are always promotions out there. Buy packs, or not, right? You don't really necessarily have to buy packs, right? The reward cards, I think, are good enough to make those gains and that progression.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll get enough DC. Maybe you'll buy a card that's not a reward card, your first one, right?
Mhm.
I mean, because everything is translatable into DC, right?
Yeah.
Or SPS even, right? And that's another thing, right? If you look at how much SPS you've gotten just for holding the assets, that's
Mhm.
insane, right? Like it's literally free money. And again, you're given an opportunity because you've staked your SPS to get vouchers. Again, if you've had enough of this, getting the walk as a gift, right? I mean, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's a gift. Now, I will say this: if the price of SPS goes up to $1, that's one expensive card. But again,
Yeah.
that means everything has gone up, right? So
Mhm.
if SPS goes to $1, I guarantee that anyone is a Splinterlands player now will be very happy with the value of their decks, even if they're super small right
Yeah. And I mean, it's such a double-edged sword again, because as much as I want SPS to go to $1, I really like accumulating it here at 13 cents. Not because, and on this channel, I like, as many folks know, like I really try to stay away from the hopium, because it's just like you
now.
never know what's going to happen in crypto. But I would say that there will be another bull run at some point, even if it's 3 years down the line, right? The next Bitcoin halving in 2024 and 2025 following. Like, in 3 years, so much can change. But
Absolutely.
even still, imagine what you can accumulate in 3 years' time.
Absolutely.
So, just earning SPS every day from ranked battles once that comes in, from the airdrop for the next 5 months. So yeah, I can very much see SPS going back to $1 in the next couple of years. If it happens this year, I'm not complaining. But it's just like when that happens, it's going to be, things will get crazy again, and hopefully it won't get like suffocatingly crazy, because it'll also be a wider player base that's coming through,
Absolutely.
along with more cards available, right? Because I think in a good way, right? It was bad for the game overall, but it was a good problem to have. Like, the devs just got caught with their pants down, right? Everything got sold out so fast, and you can see just with the delays the team has grown and there's still so many delays because this stuff just takes time to actually build. And when you're building something awesome, it doesn't happen overnight. So when that happened, like, it took some time for Chaos Legion to come out. Now that Chaos Legion's here, everybody's saying, "Oh, there's too many cards, too many cards."
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I don't think so. If you want this game to 10x, there's probably not even enough cards in Chaos Legion, right? So if we want to get to 1 million players or 3 million daily active players, and I think that's actually something possible because, like you, once the Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone players come through and they don't care about earning. They care about having they care about having the Waka Spiritblade because I want to play with that card. It doesn't matter how much it is. I'm going to buy it and I don't care to earn back the rewards or the whatever I put in. I just want to be able to play with it because it means
before anyway, right?
Exactly.
The Magic the Gathering game. They couldn't do that anyway, right? They could look at the pretty cards, and again, it's a great game. I still play it even now, right? Nice. But when I do, I think, wow. When I win, I don't own these cards, right? I can't give them to my buddy, right? He has to go get it himself, right? So, but here's the thing: even if every card and every asset went to 0, would you still play?
That's the thing. I mean, no, I would because I love the game. Now, if everything goes to 0 in a game like this, I'll be honest with you, it would kind of defeat the purpose of what the game is trying to accomplish in terms of providing value. So there would be a moment of questioning like a shaking of faith if it were to go to 0. But if it were to go to near 0, like what we've seen now, where SPS has literally done like a 90% drop, I'm still okay because I know that the thesis of what this game is built on is going to be fine in the future, right? So, and even if we drop lower, like I've been saying, I'm not worried because I know that where the team is at, what they're trying to put out, it's going to be mind-blowing in the future. It really is.
Could you imagine what's going to happen when LAN comes out? I mean, I'm so hyped on that. So think about LAN, right? What did Agrid say? That it was going to be an immersive experience. So for me, I mean, I showed you my
the VR stuff,
and I'm like,
oh, man.
Like imagine walking through your own land and the trees part and you see your keep up on the hill. And you go, that's my keep. That's my place.
Yeah.
Right. And, and if you have Waka there, who's to say that you won't see him when you walk through that keep or that building or a creature, right? What's your favorite creature, right? You have it, established on that land. Can you imagine seeing baby Pegasus? Because that's one of the things, right?
Yeah.
To generate other, creatures, right? So baby Pegasus, and maybe you can make cards out of all that stuff. Maybe we'll be able to make cards that don't exist or aren't being minted anymore. We don't know. We have no idea what that's going to look like, but I know these guys are working super hard to make that vision, whatever it is, reality, because they've proven themselves. And that's the thing, right? I remember when DICE came out, and to your point, right, you said this earlier, there are not enough cards. When DICE came out, I remember seeing DICE there, and I said, oh, it's too expensive to spend DEC for those packs. And I said, oh, they'll always be there. I remember I woke up one day and all the DICE packs were gone. And it was like a day. And I was like, what just happened? And then everything. And for months and months and months, there were no packs anywhere. You couldn't get a pack except on Wax. You were paying $60 for
my goodness,
right? And I'm like right now, these are the good times because when these packs are gone, they're gone. And they'll never come back again. They're never coming back. So the cards that you see for 4 cents, right? Even the rewards cards, when those reward cards are gone, they're it. That's it, right? And things like Pellicor Mercenary, which is a phenomenal card.
I love the card so much,
It's crazy, right? But if you look at some of the old cards that did the same thing, those cards are they're going to be invalid. They're going to be sought after by everybody. So anyway, we're way off the Waka Reserve here.
Way off the Waka Reserve. But this has been a ton of fun, man. I really appreciate you coming on. And I guess to maybe before we wrap things up, we've already kind of alluded to it, but where do you see 2022 going? And I know land is probably one of the big ones. So maybe since we talked about that already, with upcoming, like with Waka, I will keep this around Waka, I guess. how do you see that kind of like voucher utility? Like, do you see, we know that the Waka is the first of many, but is this something that we're going to start seeing regularly? Is this something that you personally are going to try and go for each and every card that comes through like this because of that thesis that there is scarcity? Like, how do you view this kind of movement within Splinterlands, which I think we should call out is actually very brand new, right? To have a promotional card. Well, maybe not brand new because I think they had Halfling Alchemist. But yeah, but in this way, we're like penetrating certain aspects of popular culture, and bringing that in. So I think that's going to be something crazy. I don't know, just if you have any closing thoughts on that.
I do actually. So Waka's the first, right? And if you look at how divided the community is around the fact that it is Waka, right? If it wasn't Waka, let's say it was someone else, right? With the same abilities, I don't think you'd see the divisiveness, right? But again, look at the purpose. The purpose is promotion, to bring new players that have not been established, have not been exposed to Splinterlands, right? I got exposed to Browse. At a certain point, someone's at Splinterlands said, hey, I think it'd be a great idea if we do an ad on the Brave browser. And I'm sure people are like, what the hell? Why would we want to do that?
I'm still saying it now.
Without that, I would not even know what Splinterlands is, right?
Yeah.
So there are fans, right? Waka Flocka has 3 million fans. Let's say we just get 10% of those. Let's say we get 1% of those, right? That's an extra, what's it,
30,000 players.
30,000 players right there. But I think it's going to be much more than 30,000, right? Oh, and then we have Imagine Dragons, right? We're going to get I say we because it is us, right? This is our community, right? So we're going to get a 30-second spot. I haven't listened to an Imagine Dragon song in like forever. Guess what I've been listening to lately? And so this is, I think they're going to reach into every popular culture that they can. Sports, right? If you're a sports fan, imagine seeing a famous sports player get into it, right? That's going to pull people there. If you're into science, right? Like I'm a big fan of the James Webb Telescope. I can't get enough of it, right? Okay, so we get a NASA scientist card. I'm getting it, right?
Oh man, can you imagine an alien invasion expansion?
Yes, all of that, right? All of that. So regardless of what it is that you have a passion around, if you look at NFTs, right? NFTs are around passion for the fan base to adopt and accept and collect the things that are important to them. Right? If you're not a fan of Waka, because it's okay, right? Don't buy the card, right? You will have to play against it, but you don't have to own it, right? It's not for you, right? If you feel some kind of salty way about it, just don't buy it, right? You don't have to support it, but just remember that there are other people that will support it. Right. So and are happy that it's there. Right. I'm gonna be when I play that card, man.
It's gonna bring you so much joy.
It is. I'm like poison everywhere, right? And again, I'm gonna lose some battles, and my opponent will say, yes, I found the right strategy for this card, right? And they're going to feel happy that they beat it, right? When I play with Archmage Aries, I don't win all the time, right? And I know there are people that get joy out of beating that card. So I think it's going to be more of that. I think the utility of these cards will continue to grow as the metaverse evolves, right? And I mean, are you familiar with where the term metaverse came from?
Maybe, but I would love to be re-educated. Go ahead.
Quick, because I know we've been here for a while. So the term metaverse came from a book called Snow Crash.
Okay. I didn't know this then.
Yeah. So Neil Stephenson, and the hero, actually his name was Hero. The hero protagonist was a coder. And he created, he was one of the first coders of the metaverse, and he coined the term the metaverse. And they made a bar called the Black Sun, right? And when you go in there, out of the metaverse, there were different rules, right? So just like you'd see like Tron or something like that. But in the Black Sun, the the coders, the developers were like gods, and they could change anything they wanted. And Hero actually had two set of samurai swords, and he was like the #1 dueler, right? But the key about the metaverse was it was a social construct, right? That
Okay.
anyone could come in and be anything they wanted, right? There was no gender, no race. You could be very similar to Ready Player One. I think they took a lot of concepts from that. But the metaverse was really a place that you could go to really fulfill a lot of the dreams that you have. And think about it, right? The world is full of people that daydream about different worlds, and now those worlds can become real. So I think whether or not, the metaverse itself becomes a thing, I think that there will be some iteration. We're already living in it now, right? So imagine having one of your cards that a developer codes up a use case for. Let's pick any one of your summoners, right? Yodin. You get to go into this virtual place, and now you look like, what is Yodin? He's a wolf, right? I guess he's kind of a wolf, right? So you get to go and do that. There are tons of NFTs that are out there, millions of them right now, and all we're really waiting for is for a developer to code use cases and to give those NFTs an ability, right? And we're seeing that now with the Waka, right? There are people. I may not be on Snapchat, but I probably will now, right? and I'm gonna scan that code. And I'll let my son scan the codes, and they'll be able to have that piece of technology, right? What if in the future it does something else? Right? What if it allows you access into a real world place?
No, anyway. Well, that's the beauty of NFTs, and it's almost like the possibilities are somewhat endless. And then to kind of piggyback on your thing before we close out here, when you're talking about like metaverse and the idea to like go be anyone, do anything that you want, all these like essentially like living out certain types of fantasies, right? And like this is exactly what it is. We've been doing that for the last 30, 40 years through video games.
Absolutely.
Right. Like I play it doesn't matter what the game is. I could play a Star Wars game. I could play Madden NFL. Right. But what am I doing? I'm fighting my way as a Jedi, or I'm playing as a quarterback for my favorite team. Right. And I get to set the narrative in my own head, right? And it's just like I play through the narrative there, and then I feel like I'm a part of it. Now, VR, as you and I both know, makes that experience visceral, like literally visceral, because you feel like you're in there. So now imagine not just basic VR games, but VR universes where everything that you ever enjoy you can be a part of, and if you're smart enough, you can code yourself, right? Like
everyone should be a coder. Like if you're not a coder now,
and sorry, I don't mean to say that in a demeaning way, like not smart enough. Like I'm a tech lover without being tech savvy, right? In the sense that like I don't know how to code. It's just not my thing. I guess I'm maybe more on the creative side than the technical side, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean I have any less appreciation for it. But it almost makes me jealous of like the people who can like I can imagine this world, and therefore I want to go out and create it, right? In the same way that for me, like making music, like I can imagine this song, I can go out there and create it. People who know how to code and can take the technology that exists in our lifetime, which is amazing to see how far it's come, can say, I can literally imagine this place, this universe, this game, and now I'm going to go out there and create it. And that to me is a beautiful thing.
Right. But here's the thing, right? I'm a technical guy, right? I build data centers for a living, right? At the end of the day, I can't do what you do at all, right? So I can't be creative, right? I mean, maybe I could if I really tried.
You can be. Everybody can be to a certain extent, yeah.
And I would say the same about coding, right? Everyone can learn how to code, but that's not your thing, right? Being creative is not my thing. But I think when those two, the creative side meets the technical side, we're going to require the content, right, to fill that world up. And I can't fill a world up with all the cool stuff, right? I'd say, hey, computer, put a flower here, or whatever, or a waterfall, or whatever. But make it feel like a waterfall. To hear the music behind that waterfall, I can't do that, but you could do that, right? Yeah. So, like, you know what? It's funny. Have you ever listened? You're in a guild, right?
I mean, I'm in my own guild, which has not been. It's just been a fun experience, except we're really behind where I would like for us to be. But that's completely on me, not the guild mates.
Right. But do you ever listen to the music in the buildings?
Yes, I've heard it there. It's
Yes, that ambient music is awesome, right? Like it's fantastic. And sometimes just
Mhm.
let it play around my house, right? So that's what I'm talking about.
It's very
Someone
soothing.
it is super soothing, right?
I don't know
And
what
then
it is.
someone wants to cut
Soothing.
her head off with a card, right? So, but all jokes aside, right? It is super soothing. But someone had to create that, right?
Yeah.
If they said, "Hey, Darkestnyte, create a song for us," it probably wouldn't have sounded like that. It'd be terrible,
Mhm.
right? But again, that's kind of what I'm talking about. So anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I wasn't trying to play down my skills. It's more so just the ability to build. Maybe create isn't the right word because I think creativity kind of has this connotation to it, but the ability to build in today's society uh, is phenomenal. So I don't know. I feel like you and I are both very much attached to a really cool project that's being built out right now. And I honestly cannot wait to see. I haven't even been playing this game for a year. Sounds
Yeah.
like you've been playing it for a little over a year or almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years. I started, I believe it was December 2020.
December 2020. Okay.
So, yeah, and it's funny, right? Um, land, they were selling land. I didn't even know what it was, right?
Did you?
And I bought it by accident. Totally bought it by
Wait,
right.
so
So
you got it for the original retail price of like what, $20 or something?
bucks. Oh, but it's even
Wow.
it's even weirder, right? So I bought two lands. I was like, what does this land do? I can't do anything with it, and I've totally forgot about it. And then, do you remember? Were you around for mystery potions?
I wasn't. I wish I was there because people were winning land
Yes,
for
yes,
mystery potions,
I
right?
got two, and I was like, I got
It's
this mystery
nuts.
potion. Like, I want, give me a pack or something. And who knew, right?
Yeah.
Once I started researching what land was, I was like, oh, that's great. When's it going to come out? And then I said they said 2 years, and I was or a year. It's actually a year. Should have been out already.
Yeah.
But it's what we were buying now is the potential of being a landholder in a 3 million plus world, right? Or
Mhm.
project. And because I do believe that Splinter Lands will hit 3 million people, 5 million people, 10 million people at some point, right? I think it's
Yeah.
just going to explode, right? If you look at how many people are really using crypto now, it's a small percentage of the population.
Mhm.
That will change. So,
I I agree. I don't know what the timeline for that looks like, and obviously there's a lot of hurdles in the way,
yeah,
but I really for my own self like just edification and interest like I've really tried to start looking into other games and I just found myself coming back to Splinterlands because at the end of the day, it's a real game and it's
yeah,
addictive and it challenges me in ways that other games aren't really doing that right now. So the head start that they have is phenomenal, and it's not just the head start, the vision that they have for what they're trying to do. Yeah, I know there's been delays, but man, like you
they're,
said, I
they're
try
excellent.
not to hype myself up for land too much, but I cannot wait for it, and I really hope that when it arrives, it delivers in the way people are hoping that it will.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So,
Cool. Darkestnyte. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. This was so fun. I don't know. Is there anywhere that you want to leave people if you want people to connect with you? If you don't, that is totally fine too. But any parting words before we say goodbye here and close out the stream? Actually, this isn't even a stream. Whatever this is.
yeah. So I would say just continue to enjoy the game. Again, you see the reactions in the community because people do feel strongly about it, right? And
Mhm.
that's a good thing, right? If you didn't care, whether you're pro Waka, anti Waka, it doesn't matter, right? The game is still continue to develop. We're still pulling new people in. You want to have those people in. You don't want the game to kind of die on the vine, right? Because
Mhm.
there's no interest there. But everywhere I go, I see interest, right?
Mhm.
Every time I play, I enjoy the games, right? And I play a lot. I mean, I play all day long, really, and I love the fact that the community is growing. So this is something we
Yeah.
should all welcome. And who knows? We'll see new cards. I think we'll, if I get my wish, we'll get one a month, right?
That'd be crazy. That'd be awesome. Actually.
And
That'd be
we'll
really cool.
remember the Waka. Oh, I remember Waka started it all, and
Yeah.
there'll be in 2 years from now. Think about how many of these promo cards we can have. And to answer your question, because I didn't answer it,
Please.
will I buy all the promo cards? I don't know, right? I think I will buy the cards that speak to me specifically
Fair.
because they're not
Okay.
cheap, right? They're not cheap, right?
They're
So,
not
and
cheap at all.
limited money, right? But if they speak to me, I'm going to get them.
Gotcha.
Or if they're a Death Splitter, or if they're in so that's what I'll leave you with.
All right, all right. Death Splinter. What was the second one?
Dragons, yeah.
Or dragon. Okay, so any Death Splinter or dragons, everybody, when you're looking at the future count, just subtract one from there because you know you'll be fighting Darkestnyte for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, this has been great for me too. It's a pleasure. I have such great respect for your content.
I appreciate that.
I
Thank
like
you.
the way that you communicate. The information. It's pretty straightforward. And then from someone like me, that's really good, right? I don't need all the other stuff, right? But the community is super diverse, and there's a lot of good people out here making a lot of good content.
Yep.
And again, they would not have the success that they have if Splinterlands wasn't as popular as it is.
Exactly. Yeah. I keep telling people this has kind of been a happy accident for me. I never intended to be a gaming content creator, but I came for the games and stayed for the community is really, really what it was. Right. So I couldn't agree with you more. It makes me happy to see a lot of other content creators coming out there. And, I try to do my best to support whenever they pop up because, at the end of the day, it's all value add. That's the beauty of NFT communities and NFT gaming. It's just like, I can sit on my laurels and watch everybody else create content that brings more players into the game and all of my assets rise. So I will never be unhappy or mad about other people creating other content, or nor will I ever be unhappy about them having opposing viewpoints as long as everybody keeps it respectful. Because to your point, right? What is it? The opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is indifference. So if people just stop caring about the game, then that's when we die. But if there's still passion there, then that passion leads to hopefully healthy discussion. And we all collectively, especially with the SPS down and governance coming, can make this the game that we all want to play.
Yeah.
So Darkestnyte, this is awesome, man. This is really awesome. I hope we get to do a round 2 at some point if you're down for it. And best of luck getting the Waka Spiritblade card. I hope you get. Are you going for just one, or are you trying to get a couple?
Really just one, right?
Just one. Okay.
Because again, the whole purpose is to get it out into the community, right?
Yeah.
It's not an investment for me. So I want to.
Shouldn't have even have asked then. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to play with it. I'm gonna have fun with it, and actually my sons play too, right? So
that's awesome.
I'm sure I'll delegate it over to them and let them wreak havoc, and then. But I'm hoping it's as good as I think it is, right? Like I set up my. I've made some purchases recently to prepare for it, right? So lots of snipe, lots of opportunity. And sustaining, right? You got to sustain, your team, make sure high life point creature to wait out the poison. I mean, it's going to be great. It's just going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun. Well, I would love to hop back on with you after you've had a chance to play with it a little bit and get some feedback, because like I said, I was not thinking about it the way that you were thinking about it before we hopped on the call today. So best of luck, man. I really appreciate it, guys. Make sure you show Darkestnyte some love, and we'll be back in the next video. Have a great one.